Hi everyone, welcome to our channel, the creative wandering duo, TCWD. Anyway, glad to have you here for lesson number 4. As you can see, there's our center, and I am going to use this fabric as my border, which is my squares here. So set that to the side, and I have decided to make my borders. I believe we cut 5 inches for our squares. Yep, 5 inches. I'm going to make my border 5 inches. Keep it simple. So I want to make sure that the edge of my fabric is straight. So we are going to line up a line on the bottom. And cut the edge. Straighten up that edge. I'm going to cut 4 strips, 5 inches, lining up along the edge here and along here. And remember to spider up your ruler. So that's strip 1. Strip 2, and 4. Now if we do need any more, we have this strip left over from cutting one block out of it, and it's 5 inches, so I will use that. Okay, now to find out how long we have to cut these, or to make them, we are going to measure our top. The first measurement we're going to do is right through the center. And that is 40 and a half inches. So write that down. The next measurement is along the outside edge. Now I do it about an inch in. And that is telling me 40 and a half. The next measurement is this edge here. Oh dear. not so straight on this one. This is telling us 40 3/4. Wow. That one went wonky. So 40.75. Now we need to add those three numbers together. And that equals 121.75, and yours will measure differently depending on your seam allowances. And we take that number that the three measurements we've done and add it together. My number was 121.75, and we divide that by 3. So that gives me 3 into 12 is 4, 0, 3 into 17 is just about 6, but not quite, 5, and 3 into 25 is 8. So it's telling me a really odd number of 4.58, which is just about 4.6. Now, you look at your measuring tape, and you look at your 1/2 inch, and 0.6, that would be the five-eighths measurement. Yeah, 5/8. So that is just a little bit more than 0.5. 0.6, because it divides into 8 or 16s. So find out where it's simpler, and if you count those little slashes on your measuring, your ruler, there's 8 of them in between. Okay, so you want 5/8. So there's 2, 4, and 5. And that is how long we are going to cut these two outside borders. Is 40.6 or 5/8. 40 inches and 5/8. And we're going to cut 2 of them that length. And I shouldn't have folded that up because I need to know this is the sides we measured. I don't want that to forget that. Okay, I'm just cutting the selvage off. The reason we're going to all this work in our borders is to make sure that we do not end up with wavy borders. I'm going to cut these both at the same time. These are the edges I need right there, and then lay that over there. Sure that this edge is straight. .58. So okay, let's lay this on here. Ruler. What I'm going to do is line it up right there on that edge, and on this edge, 40.5/8. A little bit left over. Okay, now I need to grab my pins. Top. And we're going to find the center. Okay, there it is. Put the pin there. A friend of mine in Michigan made this for me and sent it up. Find the quarter mark. It's very important to do these steps. Sometimes we get lazy and we just put the borders on, and that's how you end up with wavy borders. And I'll tell you, as a long armor, I've sent quilts home because there has been up to 6 extra inches in the outside edge of the border. And it's very hard to quilt that in. Okay, we're going to do the same thing to this side. Once you learn this technique and you do it over and over and over, you won't forget, and you should not have wavy borders. Now we're going to do the same thing to these 2 pieces that we cut. Fold them in half to find the center. Pin in to mark that. Probably asking, well, how come I don't just, put a pin right there? Well, I want to make sure that I have it correct. I don't want to rely on having one out. Now we're going to pin that onto our edge. So find your center one, line it up with the center pin, and pin it. more pins in here, put them in. Now I place my pins with the heads out so that when I'm sewing, I do not sew over my pins. I can grab hold of them and put them into the pin holder. Pin cushion. I recommend you don't sew over pins because you can end up with a broken needle. That is no fun. Broken needle can lead to your timing out on your machine. So that means a trip to the technician. Not fun. Okay, let's do the other side. And we'll sew these together. Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine. I'll look the other side up. This way I can see which way my seams go. Where's my purple thing? There it is. Wouldn't you know it? I ran out of bobbin thread. That's always the way it goes. Dropped my bobbin case, and this plastic case, and I broke it. So now I have to put rubber bands on to keep my bobbins in there. These plastic hinges aren't very strong. Do is make sure this is lined up again to the end there. Hope someone invents a never-ending bobbin soon. and sew on the other border. Now we want to press these. Again, set your threads into the fabric. And then I'm just going to press it out. And the reason I'm pressing it out is because of all these other seams that are coming to that, into that outside seam, that border seam. The fabric is going to want to go that way anyway. You want to make sure you're pressing those seams open. Make sure that it's right over. Not stretched, but totally open. I've long-armed quilts where the seams weren't open, and the foot of my long arm will get caught in those seams. They are that deep. And so far I've been very fortunate. I haven't ripped anyone's quilt, but that can happen. So we have 2 borders on. Look at that. There, and through the magic of video, we have our 3 strips sewn together. So now we are going to measure 2 strips to 49.5 inches. I like my measuring tape. Go to the hardware store and grab yourself a measuring tape. I find my ruler's too small, too short. Now my table isn't quite long enough. Now I can make it long enough by just putting a ruler there. And then I'm just going to grab another ruler. 49.5 inches. It's right there. That is our first border cut. Now we're going to do the same thing for the next one. When you get 49.5 inches, lining up on your edge and cut. And we have a little piece left over. So there we have our final border cut. And again, we're going to do the same thing as we did before. I can remember sewing blocks for my mother, and I would say, oh, that doesn't match up, it doesn't match up, and she'd say, that's okay, just stretch it into place. Well, she didn't have points on her blocks, and she didn't have the seams didn't always match up, her corners weren't exactly meeting up like these, and and I'd say, but Mom, and she'd go, it just needs to get done. Okay. And I don't think she could see everything because her vision was going. She had macular degeneration. And so, yeah. I could see her urgency and just get it done. And again, we're finding the halfway mark, putting a pin in. You do this with every border you put on. And I don't care if you put 10 borders on. You do all your measuring, because if you get one border going wonky, it just is very exaggerated by the time you get to the last border. So you want to make sure that you get these put on the right way. Now, if you have to have if there's a lot of bulk here between here and here, and this isn't laying flat on your border, you can give this a slight tug. Okay, just make sure your needle is down and give this fabric a slight tug, and it will ease in. Another secret to that is if you've got fabric that has to be eased in, put it on the bottom, and the feed dogs will help you ease that in. You don't want pleats or ruffles. You want it to lay as flat as possible. And just a slight tug, because fabric has a bit of a memory. It will shrink back into position and you'll have a nice seam. And you won't even know that you eased some fabric in. Put your needle down, and if your machine doesn't do it for you, and just kind of grab hold of that pin. And I always put my thumb down to hold it so that I know that this section is good. Then I can lift it up again and get my next section laying flat. Because you have your top, your pieces all stabilized with the borders, you should be able to, especially on the squares like this, because we have no bias edges, you should be able to go back and forth with your iron and iron it. If you've got bias edges, you don't want to do that. And I'm using a dry iron. I do not have any steam in my iron. With the starch that I've put in, it has a memory, and when you press, it the fabric remembers where it's supposed to be. You don't need to add any more liquid, water, or starch at this point. And there is our finished top. $49.5 by $49.5. Now, to make your backing, you need a piece 4 inches wider and 4 inches longer. So we're going to round the 49 up to 50 and make it 54 inches. So you're going to need to piece your backing. Now you can, okay, I have some fabric here, and I'm going to cut it, so there goes my pencil, 54 inches long. Because we don't have to be so precise with this, I'm just using my measuring tape. And there is 54 inches. Cut a slice in the fabric. Now we know that we have to take one of the selvages off. The other we'll cut off afterwards. But this one we're going to cut off right now. You don't want the selvage in the seam. It is woven differently than the rest of the fabric, and it has more shrinkage. So when you wash your quilt, the selvage will shrink, and yeah, it won't look very nice. So always remember, cut your selvages off. So you measure your quilt, whatever your quilt measures out to, add 4 inches to the top and the bottom, and that's the side you want your backing to be, and your batting. And I always round my numbers up. So 49.5 became 50, and I added 4 inches. If you're taking it to a long armor, you want to add 6 to 8 inches depending on your long armor. Some long armors prefer 8 inches longer and wider. Some can work with 6. So talk to your long armor. There's one chunk. Now we know that this is 45, and we cut this. Now I have to do some math. Find my pencil. Where did it go? I have another one. $45, but with the selvages cut off, it's 44 inches, okay? So, we have this at 44 for the width. We got the length, we cut that at 54. So this is 44, and we have to add 10 inches. So if we cut 10 more inches here, and because we added on that ½ inch already, that's our 1/4 inch. 10 inches here. Yep. So do the 10 inch. Just notching. You don't have to have a whole lot of rulers. You can cut your notch, line it up. Cut. exactly the same. 10 inches. Okay. Cut the selvage off of both of these two pieces. Wherever I can do a shortcut, I will. Line up on one edge and cut. There, that selvage is gone. I do have a wastebasket down there, that's why I'm throwing it there. Now, you got to sew these together. Through the magic of Videoland, we have it all sewn together. And we need to sew this. Into this edge. We have it long enough, not wide enough. You can pin this if you want, but you don't have to. I would suggest you start sewing just inside that, or take that edge off, and we can do that. Now see, if I'd left my blade open, I'd not only have my fabric cut, but I would be cut too. Always, always good to close that blade. So we're going to sew this together, press it, and of course it's going to be a little bit too long. So you'll just trim this off. And that is your backing. Now, I know I have a crib size batting around here, there. And then I'll show you how to layer in the next lesson. And we'll start quilting. Thank you for joining me. Have yourselves a wonderful week. And I'm sorry this one is a little late getting out. My garden was coming in, and so I had some canning to do. And that's my excuse, I guess. Anyway, have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Subscribe, click the like button or the dislike button, leave a comment, and if you want to have notifications, click that bell. It's all free, and you can always unsubscribe, but it does help us grow our channel. So I appreciate every one of you. Bye for now.